I'm from the north, and I am really saddened by the notion generated in the media that it is a north versus the south thing, and not from the media in the sense of media people, but people creating the narrative, and that the tax reform bills are built or designed to afflict the north. That is far from the truth. And the problem we always have, quite frankly, is that sometimes we have failed to look at the difference between politics and policy. But let me just go straight to the arguments.
Sure.
The argument of few people, I have to use the word very advisedly, because I've seen lots of northerners who supported the bill. Lots of them from different parts of the north, northeast, north central, and northwest. But those who are afraid of the bill, what they have pushed as the major argument is that the bills, if passed to law, will cause hardship to the poor people in the north. Now, if I have to take them on that argument, then my case will be that contrary is actually the reason. I mean, the very opposite is the point of the bill. Because if you say that the bill is going to impoverish the north or is going to afflict poor people, it is actually this proposed bill that is addressing the problem that the poor people encounter. Because, for example, we have an existing tax laws in Nigeria to the effect of, let's say, things that affect the poor people in the north. If you go to eat, if you go to a restaurant now, you eat, you pay VAT. If you enter public transport, you pay VAT.
But that VAT is being removed, isn't it? It's not. There's no VAT on food anymore.
Correct.
There won't be.
On food, on health care, even on personal income tax, even for small and medium enterprise business people. So all of the issues that affect the poor and the very poor, these tax laws actually addressed it. Not against the poor, but in favor of the poor.
But not everything, though, because I mean, those who oppose it, I mean, they're talking about the VAT, for example. They say that that yes, you know, you're saying that those below a certain earning threshold will benefit, but that if you charge companies higher VAT, they will simply pass it on to the consumers. So if corporate taxes go up, goods in the market, it may not necessarily be food, but goods in the market go up, which will affect lower income consumers. I mean, if you're, you know, if it's, whether it's, you know, tissue paper or toilet paper or whatever, you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Soap and things like that, it'll affect them as well.
So the reason I'm saying that is because we want to take argument on their face value, on a case-by-case basis. So let us, except if they agree with me that the argument should no longer be about we are protecting the poor, because it is a conclusive fact that this bill supports the poor and not oppose the poor. If you talk about cyclical effect of economic dynamics, it's everywhere in the world. Once this one goes this way, there's likely to go. How many poor people buy toilet paper? If we have to put the argument
well,
further,
I don't know.
Nobody, in the north where I come from,
but they have a right to buy toilet paper.
They have a right
and
to
if
buy.
They decide they want to buy toilet paper and it goes higher, it's impoverishing the
But what is very, very essential to them at the moment is hunger and food. And the president has been clear about that. The policy of the government has been clear about that. In fact, even the recent meeting the president traveled to, the G20, is a global focus now. The governance reform across the world is to deal with hunger and then climate change. Hunger and then climate change. If we look at the revolutionary policy in the agriculture of the president. So the president as a president has a vision for the poor. As a government, he has policy for the poor. The tax, which is part of the many reform policies introduced, is also in favor of the poor. But I can understand if people want to make elitists.
I've seen that bill, and I do agree with you that it certainly leans in the direction. I mean, I've scanned through it, I haven't sort of read it all, but I mean, it certainly leans in the direction of trying to make life better for the poor, small, medium enterprises, and all of that. But in that regard, why do you think opponents have such a big problem with this bill? Why they're opposing it so much?
Well, the thing is that, like I said earlier, that sometimes we play politics and policy together, or we mix politics and policy, and sometimes in a bid to oppose or support policy, we bring politics. And because they are very, very similar, sometimes you see that a vast number of people get misled by those who play politics on policy, thereby misleading the general public. So I see that, if you remember, when local government autonomy was introduced, the governors didn't favor that, even though it is a good governance approach to freedom across democracy.
Right.
So this one is also part of those. That's why you see that it is governors who are opposing that. But what does the law say about lawmaking process? And the president has been clear about that when they passed, the National Council of State said that they are asking for a return of the bill. He said, let it go through the legislative process. We run a democracy here. The lawmaking power in Section 4 lies with the National Assembly. The members of the National Assembly represent their respective states. But the reason why I'm very emphatic about this issue of poverty is because I come from the North, and the conversation in the North is that this will bring poverty to you, or this one will impoverish you. Let us clear about that. The tax is in favor of the poor. But the argument that most people make, in fact, I even look beyond that. It is even not even the issue of North and South. It is just the issue of certain elites who feel that this policy is going to reduce the extent of the revenue they have to make, to do one or two things.